Welcome to another episode of At the Edge of It All. Today on the podcast, or rejoining us, is Dr. Lorri Sulpizio. She's the director of the Conscious Leadership Academy at the University of San Diego.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back. We had you on the show a while ago, where we talked about leveling up. You work with leaders to help level them up and get them growing in their careers.
Yeah.
You also work with organizations to do the same, of coaching and just bettering themselves.
Yeah.
And today, though, I want to dive into more of your expertise in mindset and resilience.
Great. Love it.
Which I think is two important topics to dive into for a lot of people that may be struggling with a tough time or trying to get through something. How can we have a positive mindset or shift our mindset? So before we get into that, how would you define how we create a positive mindset or shift our mindset? What does that even look like?
Yeah, I think maybe to start is just understand what a mindset is. So
Yes.
it's like your set of beliefs, thoughts, and assumptions about yourself and the world, right? So that's your mindset. And so if you think about a positive mindset, it's having positive beliefs and thoughts and assumptions about yourself and the world. And there's a way to have a strong positive mindset without being naive or without being, kind of overly optimistic or avoiding to look at the hard. So that's not what we mean. But it's recognizing how much power we actually have in controlling our thoughts, because I don't think we realize that. And so often our thoughts can spiral out of control. Our thoughts can get doom and gloom. And the world's tough right now. I mean, life is tough for so many people. That's what I hear from my clients. We hear when we're in organizations of all kinds. But I think we forget that we can kind of shapeshift the way that we're thinking about our life. And that would be nurturing that positive mindset.
And so it seems like that's sort of a practice, right? You have to practice it like you practice a sport or something 100%. You're trying to do. Is that kind of what it is? You have to practice it because you don't want to fake it till you make it. You don't want to put on a facade. You want to actually work and practice to change the mindset, right?
Yeah, and there's some kind of research to show that even that faking it till you make it doesn't really change sort of your core belief system, and so that will run out and it won't kind of shift you in a way that really kind of shifts your ability to strengthen that mindset. So you do need to practice it, and part of it is being aware of when those negative thoughts, that inner critic, that sort of negative belief system starts to come into play, and then being able to notice it and disrupt it. Right. And that's the key. And when I work with people, it's okay, when does that negative thought come in? When do you start to spiral downward? Can we disrupt it before then it turns into negative action? Right. Because the challenge and the problem with a negative mindset is that it then leads to problematic behaviors in our lives.
Yeah. Once you have that negative mindset and you don't stop it, then it just grows and grows, and then you're down this sort of spiral.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something that can be tough for a lot of people right now is if you're seeing is the job market seems to be really tough right now with people spending a lot of time searching for a job. And I know that can be obviously very tough for people. What is sort of your tips for helping people that are applying for the jobs, going out for the jobs, but not having any success? And I guess this could kind of translate to a lot of different things. You're trying for something and it's not landing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you get through that without sort of getting into a negative mindset, right?
Yeah. So the key there is to recognize that sort of that negative outcome is not a measure or an indicator of your self-worth. Right? So you not getting a job, right? You not being the hired choice doesn't mean you're not worthy of a job. You're not good at your craft. You're not smart, and I think we internalize maybe getting sort of maybe rejection after rejection, not getting hired as, oh, I'm not good. And that's just not the case, right? What we have to realize is that with the job market, there's so much out of our control. I mean, you don't know if maybe the person that was hiring already knew who they wanted to hire and was just going through kind of the process that they had to go through, or if maybe there was some other reason that you weren't the pick. And so again, we create a story saying, I'm not hireable, I'm not good enough. And that's just not true. So that's the skill to recognize negative things that happen don't dictate your self-worth. That being said, you want to be intentional about leveling up your skills, polishing up your resume and cover letter. I mean, you want to do all that you can do intentionally and do your due diligence. It's not an excuse to say, oh, not my problem, right? Yeah. But there's a sweet spot between receiving negative things in life and knowing it doesn't indicate how good, bad, worthy, unworthy you are as a human.
What would you recommend if you're on the job search and you're feeling sort of things aren't working, as you said? Is there a way where you can kind of step back and kind of get into your mindset of thinking, okay, well, pepping yourself up a little bit. Is there any way you could sort of pep yourself up and also reassess as you're going through it of like, okay, maybe that's not the job for me. Maybe I need to look into this. Are there ways to shift and kind of reassess as you're going through the process?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things is to see a job search as an opportunity. Right. So that would be a shift. So instead of like, oh, I'm, stuck in this place where I don't have a job, and see it kind of as a deficit place, see it as an opportunity. And with an opportunity, can you be creative, flexible, and open to maybe other opportunities, right? So you may think, oh, I'm in higher ed, I'm going to only look for jobs in higher ed. Well, not necessarily. What's your skill set? So thinking about the skills you have, thinking about what you want to be doing with your time and with the tasks and with your work, and then saying what jobs could help me live that out. Maybe there's jobs in nonprofit. Maybe there's jobs in the hospitality industry. Maybe you go into the corporate world, the business world. So it's being creative and flexible and really anchoring to your strengths and to what you want to do.
Also, I don't know if this would be helpful, but writing down what you're good at.
Yeah.
And maybe 100%. Writing down what you want, like putting pen to paper.
Yes.
Do you recommend that with some of the leaders you work with?
Always. So you definitely, I mean, I'm a huge, huge fan of journaling, and a huge fan kind of when you're at this transition place of putting pen to paper. So for example, like I said, make a list of the work you want to do, right? Just as if there's no limitations. What would you want to do? And then how do you want to work? Because the pandemic opened us up to seeing that we can relate to work in so many new and different ways, and work can look differently. So you may want to be in person because you like being with people. You may be somebody that, hey, I want to work from home. Hey, I want to be in person 2 days and home 3 days. Like, write it all down and kind of manifest it kind of in the flesh and blood on paper. Yeah. And then you can do a couple different things. I mean, you can show it to friends and say, hey, here's what I want. Do you know anything? You can reach out to your support group. You could throw it into Chat GPT and say, here's what I want. Give me some creative ideas for a job. You can tack it on to your bathroom mirror and just remind yourself, hey, this is what I'm going for, so you don't settle, and it keeps you optimistic and hopeful. So I think writing it down is just a beautiful way to kind of keep you positively focused on what you want.
Yeah, no, that's great. Also, I'm sure with the leaders you work with, it's all about relationships. And we hear that for jobs. We hear that for everything, right? That I think I just saw a study out that 80% of the people that are getting jobs is someone they know, right? Yeah. It's a network or a friend of a friend. Right. It's having those connections. Do you recommend sort of reaching out to your network when you're in need of support? And what does that look like to create meaningful relationships over time that isn't just when I'm in need, but you're building relationships, because really that's everything, right?
Yeah, and I love that you said that. When we're working with younger emerging leaders, like new graduates, whether it's undergrad or grad school, one of the things we tell them is like relationship it's a verb, like relationshiping. You've got to actively nurture your relationships. And so part of it is, again, getting intentional, getting proactive about making connections with people, keeping the connections that you have. And it might feel like work, but it is work, right? Because the key is keeping those connections alive so that when you do need them, they're there. They're there for you, and you being there for others. So understanding that relationship is a verb and you have to work at it is so important. And then I think sometimes we get to this place where we get embarrassed, maybe get a little shame that we don't have a job or that we're looking. And so then we don't want to put it out there like, hey, I could use some help with this. Hey, I've had a couple interviews and I haven't gotten it. Can you help me? Right? And so I think we have to put the shame aside, put the embarrassment aside, and be willing to reach out, because you're absolutely right. Often it's the person that knows the person that hires the person, right? Yeah. And so we've got to be willing to put ourselves out there and let somebody support us, and then do the same back, right? Be supportive back to people when they need it, and we can normalize this ability to show up for each other.
And I think usually the times that you do reach out to people, they're open arms, willing to help, and you're like, oh wow, what a sigh of relief. Like, it wasn't that scary.
Because we've been there before.
Right.
I've been to a place where I've been needing a job, or got, kind of needing some support, or just not felt the best about myself. And so, of course, if you're in that place, like, oh yeah, hey, I know that one. You too, me too. Yeah, let's connect. Let me work with you through it. Let's just, support each other through it. So I think we find when we start to be more open with our struggles and challenges that we're not alone in them.
Yeah. I feel like if you do the journaling exercise where you write down all your skills, maybe that's a great segue to when you're working on the cover letter or you're in the interview, you can kind of look and say, wow, I'm actually really great at a lot of these things. Yeah. How can you use that and put it into, say, a cover letter or when you're in the interview to really highlight who you are and how you're different, right?
I think it's important that, your cover letter shouldn't just be a repetition of your resume, right? So don't just list your skills. They can see like where you went to school and your job experience in your resume. Your cover letter, though, you can tell a story about yourself, like do something interesting that sets you apart and gives a bit about who you are in that letter. And then the interview is the same thing. I think sometimes we feel like in an interview, it's so one-sided. If you shift your mindset to think, I'm interviewing you as well, right? Kind of come in with like, yeah, you're interviewing me, but I want to make sure this is the right fit for me. So share who you are, so they get to know you, share some stories, but be ready to ask some questions about that list, about how you want to work, and be willing to ask, whoever's interviewing you, hey, what do you do about this? What's the policy on this? What kind of culture do you have here?
Right.
Because then you'll know if this is going to be a good fit.
Is that checking off the list that I created, right?
Exactly. 100%. Yeah.
Shifting away from jobs, the idea of mindset and resilience in other areas of our life. We're seeing high prices at the grocery store. Maybe you're dealing with a new family dynamic. Things are just changing for you that are outside, external, something that you can't control.
Right.
How do you not let that affect you, or how do you shift your mindset when it impacts you in a big way, but it's something you can't fix or change?
Yep.
I feel like it's easier said than done, right? Of like,
yeah.
How do you do it?
Way easier said than done. So I think part of it is if you're feeling stuck, you said it, one of the great exercises is to take a piece of paper and a pen and write down all the challenges that you face, everything that high gas prices, my kids got late assignments at school. I have a conflict with a colleague at work, right? All the things that you're struggling with. I don't like the news. When I read the news, it depresses me. Okay. What can you control on that list? And what can't you control, right? So you can't control the gas prices. Cross that off. Like, don't put your mental energy. Don't let that take up space in your head rent free, as we say, right? Yeah. But your kid missing assignments, you can kind of have some control on that. Having a conflict with somebody at work, there's probably something you might be able to try to do about that. So you can start to recognize where you can put your attention and energy when you start to recognize what you can and what you can't control. So that's a very tactical way. I think the other piece is to recognize that even some of these things that we don't have control over can be emotionally draining. I mean, they can be hard. It can be sad, right? Like we read the news and there's sad things on the news. And so how to regulate your emotions and how to fill your cup back up. So it's really important in this time. And we talk about like being on this hamster wheel of all the stuff happening. Like you just feel like you're go, 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 go. And a lot of the going is like hard, sad, negative emotion. Well, do you have the ability to kind of stop, get off, and refill your cup in ways that make you feel good? So whether it's walking outside, calling a friend, having an every other day date night with your spouse or happy hour with your, best friends, watching a show on Netflix. I mean, anything that just can give you some positive feeling. It's important that we're intentional about that because there is a lot to get us down right now. So we have to intentionally navigate our own way to fill up our cup, both emotionally and, mentally.
Yeah, I remember something you shared with me was the idea of anchoring yourself. Is that kind of what you're saying there, of like regrounding yourself, because all these things are coming at you, but you have to sort of ground yourself and know, okay, we're good. Yep. Here's what we're working on. And so what does that look like of the grounding work?
Yeah. So grounding can look a lot of different ways. One is just, literally you can do some work where you just feel your feet on the ground, you walk, you just kind of recognize like, I'm here, get in the present moment, right? And just anchor to the present moment. The other part is anchoring to what you know, right? So like, I know I've got a loving, healthy family. I know I have a good job. I know that I've got the resilience to get through these hard times. So we can anchor to what we know is true. And then we can also anchor to our values. What's most important, right? So what's most important to me is I get time to exercise. I get time with my kids. And so when it's the parts that you can control is what you want to anchor to. Because if we anchor to parts that we can't control, then we feel like we're like flailing. And then you're not anchored, right? Because you're getting yanked in every which way that you have no control. So that piece of anchoring to what you can control and what you know to be true is really important. And that's a helpful grounding way to then kind of move through life.
I know. One thing I've always been trying to work on, but it hasn't happened because I like sleep too much, is having that morning routine. I hear so much of people saying that they meditate in the morning and it has changed their life, or they just have that first 10 minutes outside with a cup of coffee by themselves, something to kind of like set the tone for the day. And I feel like if you don't do it then you kind of just get
so true.
pulled around, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, we rescued, my daughter fostered a puppy, a rescue from Texas from the floods, and we ended up adopting him. And so now I've got this puppy and my 5-year-old lab. So every morning now for the last couple of weeks, I've gotten up at like 30 minutes early to take them out walking because they really need it. And it's amazing, that morning air, starting the day. I mean, you know, I would do it maybe, I don't know, 3 times a week, but now I'm doing it every day.
Wow.
And the clarity and the calm and just starting off moving, and then I go back to the house and make my coffee. Like, it really does shift how the day starts.
Yeah.
Feels great, actually.
Yeah.
So I think you're absolutely right.
I
If you could
just
20 minutes early if you can.
Yeah. You work with leaders to kind of take them to the next level. And so we have you here. And so I just kind of want to know, what are some things that you tell them to get them to up level in their life? And I imagine it has a lot to do with the mindset.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with resilience. But what are some things you would tell people at home that are maybe struggling, maybe a top 3 takeaway that you tell your leaders that you work with that could be beneficial to people at home? And we might have covered it, but just sort of a wrap up of
for
takeaways.
Sure. I mean, so I think one thing is focus on what you can control. Don't waste mental, emotional, psychological, cognitive energy on what you can't control. It's just a waste is what it is. So focus, really think about what you can control. Don't be afraid to learn and level up your skill. I mean, I think personal development in terms of the leaders that I work with, that is where we really focus and try to hit home, is even if you're the highest of the highest leader, there's always ways to kind of get a little bit better, to learn something more that's going to help you in your life. So don't be afraid if you're just that person at home. What can I learn? What would make me better? You know, what's not working for me right now? And how can I put some of my attention there to make my life just a little bit better? One of the questions I ask every leader is, what one change right now would make the biggest positive difference in your life? If you could change one thing in your life, not, you know, and if you could change it, not like, oh, I win the lotto, like that's not it. Right.
You have the control
you
again.
have the control to change one thing, what would it be that would make the biggest positive difference? Because that's that being willing to level up. And then I think the other part is just find your support system. You know, I think it's really tough there's a lot of lonely feeling, isolation feeling. There's still a lot of divide, us, them. It's not healthy for us. We know that we're wired for connection. So find the people that you can rely on. Find the people that make you laugh and smile. Find the people that will hand you the tissue box when you're crying, because that is how we get through some of these more challenging times. And even for the leaders, right? Big decisions, find your people that'll give you feedback. Find the people who will be honest with you. Find the people that'll support you if you make a big decision, it doesn't go the way you want, because it's the people that kind of can help carry us through.
Yeah. Well, Lorri, this was great. I could talk to you all day. Thank you for this. And hopefully this helped people with their mindset. And I feel like this is really tangible things that any one of us can do at home tomorrow.
Yeah.
To kind of shift how we think about things and have a more positive attitude while we're doing it.
Hope so. Yeah.
Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to catch our next one.